Hi, I'm Nate Seberg, and this is One Day Ahead. Welcome to One Day Ahead. This is To Kill a Mockingbird in 14 minutes. This video is a summary in broad strokes with near criminal oversimplifications. Two things before we start. One, I have a full-blown series that goes really deep on Mockingbird. It's summary and analysis, and we get granular. Second, this series is accompanied by a comprehensive To Kill a Mockingbird teaching unit. If you are a teacher looking to tackle this text with your students, check that out. All of it is available at onedayahead.com. Link below. All right, we're burning time. Like and subscribe. Let's go to the summary. Chapter 1. 6-year-old Scout Finch is our narrator, and she is telling us the story that is the book that you're probably holding. She says it's about her brother Jem and how he broke his arm. And that happens, but that's not actually what this story is about. With that, we're off and running. Chapter 1 is about getting us set up. Scout and her brother Jem are growing up in the fictional Jim Crow-laden Macomb, Alabama. It's the Great Depression, and you get real Sleepytown Southern vibes. Their dad, the stalwart hero and literary heartthrob Atticus Finch, is the town lawyer. Calpurnia is the nanny and pseudo-replacement mom. Dill is the summer friend, and Boo is the social recluse that fascinates their days and haunts their dreams. With all of that established, Chapter 1 ends with Jem running up to touch Boo's house on a dare. They run and they see a window blind shift. Chapter 2, Scout goes to school, which is a disaster. There we meet Walter Cunningham, who is dirt poor. They have him home for lunch. The Cunninghams are like the right way to be poor. They have dignity. Their counterparts are the Ewells. If Boo is the imaginary villain of the first half of the book, Bob Ewell is the genuine, real-life, authentic villain of the second half of the book. The Ewells are poor without dignity, just pride. Chapter 3, we're back in school. A kid in Scout's class, Burris Ewell, so Bob Ewell's kid, is told he has to go home and wash. He calls his teacher a slut and leaves. Chapter 4, some time has gone by. Scout happens upon some gum hidden away in the hollow of an oak tree. We know that this is a gift from Boo, but the kids don't figure that out. Summer comes and the kids roll in the tire, which is exactly what it sounds like. Scout rolls, loses control, crashes into the Radley porch, and can hear someone inside laughing. Chapter 5, Scout has a talk with her neighbor, Miss Maudie. We learn more about Boo's backstory. Boo's real name is Arthur Radley. As a teen, he got in a spot of trouble with the law, and his fundamentalist father freaked out, came down super hard, and Boo hasn't been seen outdoors for 30 years. After that backstory, the kids get a fishing pole, write a note inviting Boo to ice cream, and try to get it through a window. They are caught in their cruelty by Atticus. Chapter 6, the kids go still further. They decide to creep up at night and get a look at Boo through a window. They sneak in under the back fence, but then they are spotted by Nathan Radley, Boo's brother. Nathan mistakes them for a burglar and shoots a shotgun into the air. The kids run in a blind panic, and Jem gets his pants snagged on a fence. He kicks out of them and tears home. Later that night, he goes back to retrieve his pants, and he finds them mended and folded across the fence. Chapter 7, Scout is now in the 2nd grade, which she hates. On her walks home, she still occasionally comes across gifts squirreled away in the knot of the oak tree. One day, however, she happens upon Nathan Radley filling that knothole with cement, severing their connection. Chapter 8, it snows, like an inch, but it's the South, so they lose their minds and they cancel school. At 1 a.m. that night, a fire breaks out in Miss Maudie's house. She is safely out, and Jem and Scout watch from across the street as the house burns down. Scout is exhausted and freezing and nearly falling asleep standing. They all go in at dawn for cocoa and a chat. Sitting at the table, Atticus notices that Scout is wrapped in a blanket that isn't theirs. Scout can't account for where she got it and nearly throws up when she realizes that they were standing in front of the Radley house. Chapter 9 moves us toward the more adult themes in this book. We are not doing the Boo boogeyman stuff anymore, and now our focus is on hate, injustice, and racism. It kicks off with a classmate taunting Scott for defending N-words, but he doesn't say that. We learn that Atticus is defending Tom Robinson, a black man accused of raping a white woman. Atticus defending Tom is a problem for the white citizens of Macomb, and it is filtering down to the kids. In the next scene, they head to Aunt Alexandra's house, where Scout is taunted by a little monster named Francis because Atticus is defending Tom. The taunts get disgusting, and Scout punches him in the teeth, and it's awesome. That night, she overhears Atticus talking about the trial and how they have no real hope of winning. Chapter 10. The kids are playing outside when a dog rounds the corner, acting strangely. They tell Calpurnia, who knows the signs of rabies. In a panic, she calls Atticus, and he turns up with the sheriff, Heck Tate. Heck is a bad shot, so he puts the rifle into Atticus's hands, who shoots the poor doggy. Chapter 11, we meet Miss Dubose. She is a vile woman who harangues the children about the trial. Jem snaps and destroys a bunch of her flowers. To make up for it, Jem has to go read to her every day. which is weird. But it gets weirder. Scout tags along and describes Miss Dubose sliding into a fit of some sort while they read. This happens again and again, but slightly later each day, until it doesn't happen at all. The reading sessions end and some time passes. As the chapter closes, we find out that 1, Miss Dubose is dead. 2, she was a morphine addict that wanted to kick her habit before she died. Atticus calls her the bravest person he ever met. Chapter 12. The kids go with Calpurnia to her all-black church. There they are confronted by Lulu, who asks why Cal brought white children. It's uncomfortable. During the service, they take up a collection for Tom Robinson's family. When they return home, they find Aunt Alexandra waiting on their porch. Chapter 13. Alexandra is here to help the family through the looming trial. There's some drama about how Atticus is raising the kids, and we learn that Alexandra generally kinda sucks. Chapter 14. Scout and Jem get into a fight, like a literal fist fight. They are summarily sent to bed, but then Scout finds Dill hiding in her room. Turns out he ran away because he was unwanted at home, and this storyline goes absolutely nowhere. Chapter 15, finally, things get real. The trial is 2 days away, and Tom will be moved to the local jail tomorrow. Atticus and others are worried that a mob will descend upon the jail, drag Tom out, and kill him. So the next night, Atticus stands guard outside the jail door. The kids get worried, so they sneak out to surreptitiously check on him. In the dead of night, the lynch mob arrives. It's tense, but Scout doesn't get what this is, so she skips out to join the crowd and surprise her dad, which is patently insane. Her happy-go-lucky, can't take the hint nature shames the crowd, and they disperse. Chapter 16, trial time. The kids turn up and can't find a seat, but then they are spotted by the pastor of Calpurnia's church, who takes the kids upstairs to sit in the colored balcony. That's what they call it. It's like decently symbolic. The chapter ends with Hecate taking the stand. Chapter 17, let's review some characters. Tom Robinson is accused of raping Mayella Ewell. This is the sister of Burris Ewell, the kid in chapter 3 who called his teacher a slut, and the eldest daughter of Bob Ewell, the true villain of the book. The family resides beside the town dump where they live in squalor while Bob drinks. Sheriff Hecate testifies that he was called out to the Ewell place, where he found Mayella crying, saying Tom Robinson attacked her. He drove out, picked up Tom, brought him back for a positive ID, then took him to jail. When Atticus questions Tate, he established that Mayella had serious bruising around her right eye. Bob Ewell takes the stand next, and he manages to rile up the crowd with his story of the rape. When Atticus questions him, he throws his curveball. He gets Bob to write his name, and the room realizes that Bob is left-handed. It would likely be a lefty who would bruise the right side of someone's face. In chapter 18, Mayella takes the stand and tells a story about Tom helping her bust up a chifforobe. It's like a big dresser thing, doesn't matter. In her telling, Tom came in, beat her up, and raped her. When Atticus questions her, he focuses on her injuries. Then he has Tom stand up, and the court sees that his left hand is completely crippled. So how does someone without a left hand bruise her right eye or put bruises around her neck? Atticus pushes her to admit that Bob beat her up after witnessing them together. She doesn't do it. Chapter 19, Tom takes the stand and tells a very different story. He claims Mayella invited him in all the time to do little jobs. One day when he passes, all of her siblings are gone and they were alone. She invited him in and kissed him. Tom realizes his danger and tries to leave, but is spotted through the window by an enraged Bob. Bob runs in and attacks Mayella, and Tom runs for his life. Chapter 20, the trial concludes with Atticus recapping the evidence. It's a good little speech. It won this guy an Academy Award. Chapter 21, everyone waits for the jury to return. Atticus predicts that it'll be quick. This is, after all, 1930s Jim Crow, lynch-happy, separate, indefinitely unequal segregation today, tomorrow, and forever Alabama, but in a surprise, it drags out for hours. When they do return, deep into the middle of the night, they find Tom guilty. When Atticus leaves the room, all of the black citizens rise to their feet. Chapter 22. Here we have the aftermath of the trial. Jem is devastated. The black members of Maycomb drop off a bunch of food. Scout talks with Miss Motti, who says the jury taking so long is progress, which, like, okay, Tom's in jail for life, but in progress. The chapter ends with Bob spitting in Atticus's face and declaring that he will get him even if it takes the rest of his life, which, as it turns out, it does. Chapter 23. So this one's a mess. Atticus brushes off the spitting episode, saying Bob just needed to save face. Later, Scout clashes with Alexandra because she won't let Scout play with Walter. It's like a classist Southern thing. Chapter ends with the kids trying to puzzle out the social dynamics that govern the adult world in Maycomb, but they give up on it because it's full of obvious contradictions. Chapter 24. Scout is compelled to attend Alexandra's church group missionary fundraiser thing in her home. During the party, which is a word I use very loosely, loosely, the leader of the group gets after Atticus for riling up the black citizens with the trial, though she doesn't use his name. Miss Maudie stands up for Atticus, and everyone is surprised when he is home suddenly. Scout, Cal, Maudie, and Alexandra assemble in the kitchen, and they learn that Tom is dead. He ran for it at the jail, and they shot him. Chapter 25. Here we get Atticus telling Tom's wife Helen that Tom is dead. It's gut-wrenching. Then we get Mr. Underwood, the publisher of the town newspaper, condemning Tom's death. Finally, Bob declares 1 down and 2 to go. Chapter 26 reintroduces Boo into our story. Scout thinks wistfully of him, having grown past the shenanigans that marked the first half of the book. The summer ends and the kids go back to school. The drama from the trial dies down and life goes on. They do current events in school. They learn about Hitler persecuting the Jews, and Scout is perplexed when her teacher says that we don't persecute anyone here. She's like, what are you talking about? Chapter 27 brings Bob back to the fore. He gets and loses a job, stalks Judge Taylor at his home one night, and follows Tom's wife Helen just to be vile. All this serves to up the tension. Finally, it's Halloween night, and Scout is appearing in the school play dressed as a ham. It's the South. What do you want? It's an ungainly costume made from chicken wire and cloth. She practices her entrance at home with her family, then leaves with Jem for her big theatrical debut. Chapter 28, they go to the play. Scout is meant to take the stage in the finale, but she falls asleep in her costume and misses her cue. Embarrassed, she waits to leave until it's empty and refuses to take the costume off to better hide her shame. The walk back is full dark, and the kids start to hear heavy footsteps behind them. When they stop, the follower stops too. They make it to the oak tree by the Radley house when they are suddenly attacked by their pursuer, who we will discover later is Bob. This section is chaos. Scout can't see because of her costume. She is knocked to the ground, Jem has his arm broken, then Scout is caught by steely adult arms that begin to crush her. And Scout won't figure all of this out for a few chapters, but at that moment, Boo arrives, having seen the attack and snatched up a kitchen knife. He drives the knife into Bob's chest, then picks up Jem and carries him home. Atticus calls a doctor and the sheriff. They splint Jem's arm, and Hecate arrives and announces that Bob is dead. Chapter 29, Scout retells her story of what happened up until she is rescued. To this point, she is assuming that the man who carried Jem was some passing country stranger, but all at once she realizes that this is Boo. She cries and says hello. Chapter 30 is complicated. Heck and Atticus talk about what happened, and Heck says Bob fell on his own knife. Atticus thinks Jem stabbed him and that Heck is trying to cover it up. Atticus is all, Jem will stand trial because it's self-defense. What he is missing is that Boo killed him, and Heck is trying to spare Boo the public attention. After some back and forth, Atticus notices that Heck has a switchblade, which he took off a drunk man, and he puts it together. Bob attacked the kids with a switchblade. It was deflected by Scout's chicken wire costume, and Boo killed Bob with a kitchen knife. Heck pocketed the switchblade so that he can cover up what Boo did by saying that Bob fell on his own kitchen knife. Finally, chapter 31. Scout walks Boo home. It's tender. He goes inside without a word and they never see him again. Scout considers the world from Boo's literal point of view, then heads back home. Atticus is sitting up with Jem. Scout joins him, falls asleep, and the book ends. And that's To Kill a Mockingbird. Kind of. I skipped a lot. For a full picture, read it, but the next best thing would be to check out my full series at onedayahead.com, where we walk chapter by chapter with summaries, analysis, quotes, and more. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check out my other series and my other stuff. We will see you next time on One Day Ahead.